Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Total Biscuit. I'm here to ask and answer one simple question. WTF is Prime World Defenders. So this is a tower defense game by a company called Naval. Now, Naval is responsible for Heroes of Might and Magic 5, as well as Silent Storm and a number of other titles. They're not a bad company. They have their moments of not producing the greatest stuff. I'm a staunch defender, I think, of Heroes of Might and Magic 5, more so than most people are. Aside from the obvious problem of it having long loading times and its interface appeared to be designed by a 5-year-old, it's actually a pretty damn good game, at least in my honest opinion. So they've done bits and pieces here and there. They actually worked on the social game version of King's Bounty. And now here they are with Prime World Defenders, and they're currently working on Prime World, which they're claiming will be some kind of RPG. So they've created this world based around this fictional resource called Prime, and then they decided, you know what, let's use the assets that we've built so far and actually make some kind of prelude that is a different style of game entirely. So here we are, a tower defense game. It's interesting, I suppose, that we've been talking a lot about iteration and cloning over the last couple of days on the channel, because I think tower defense is probably one of the largest genres, and oddly enough, one that's really only become commercial quite recently that relies on iteration of existing concepts. There's really only so far you can go with the idea of a tower defense game. So the question is, has this iterated enough to be worthy of your time? We will find out. Let's check out the options menu. Well, this is lousy. There's nothing here at all. It's absolutely useless. So, yeah, that's unfortunate. Now, you might think, well, why would you need an options menu in a tower defense game? Well, if you remember Tower Wars, which was one of the... Was that the last TD I did? I probably did one after that, but it was a fairly, relatively anyway, recent tower defense that I looked at. That actually was a pretty hardcore title in terms of its actual performance requirements. It used a lot of really new tech that really hit the machine very, very hard. So I don't think there's any excuse to not have a slider for this. Like, resolution is not enough. You need the ability to customize, at least to some degree. Even low, medium, and high is nice, but they don't even have that. So that could be a problem for people on lower spec machines, which is in itself an issue because those are the kind of people that often like to play stuff like tower defense games. Alright, let's get into the game and let's explain it, shall we? Let's talk a little bit about what's going on here. Ah, a daily prize. That is very nice. You might think, oh, well, this is some kind of always-on game. No, it's actually not. What's very curious about this is it is clearly a single-player game. However, they've built in mechanics from the kind of thing you would expect from either free-to-play, always-on multiplayer games or social games. And you might think that's a bad thing, but it actually kind of isn't. All right, so we got a daily prize, so I guess if I play every day, then I get an additional prize. So I get to pick one of these. I'll pick this one, which, as it turns out, is a detector, a guard tower which is able to detect and attack hidden enemies. Will certainly be useful to have one of those, or I can sell it for cash. So, as you might notice, there are cards. This may very well make your eyes light up if you happen to be me or somebody like me who really likes collectible card mechanics. If you don't, well, this might not be the game for you. So, in this case, you've got some reasonably standard tower defense gameplay that's mixed in with some more interesting meta aspects, in the sense that your progression within the game is based on a card system, and the cards are randomly given to you. So, let me give you an example. No, it's not a free-to-play game. This is all in-game currency. There was no way to buy stuff, and it would be stupid even if you did. Now, there are two kinds of currency within this aspect of the game. There are stars, which you earn by not sucking at the game, and there are these silver pieces. Now, these can be acquired in a variety of different ways. You just earn them by beating the levels, but there are usually two, I wouldn't say hidden objectives because they're fairly obvious. There are two kind of achievement-based objectives in each mission, which make them a little bit harder, but if you complete those, then you will get extra silver. Like, say, upgrade 5 towers. Do this without building more than one of this kind of tower, or do this without using magic, and so on and so forth. So in the booster shop, you can spend that in order to get a card. So let's spend 100 to show you exactly how it goes. Or I could even get 3 cards. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. Let's buy a regular booster. You can also get a rare booster by using your stars to get that. Bear in mind, of course, stars are a finite resource, and if you want more of them, you better go back to the levels you played previously and not suck as hard in them. Alright, so let's grab a regular booster of 3 cards. Alright, for 300 silver pieces. And we got Mine Traps, Poison Tower, and Wooden Tower. Alright. Let's good that we got those, because that'll allow me to show you another aspect of the game before we actually get into the gameplay itself. You might think, well, why are you spending so much time in the menu? This is part of the gameplay. It's so weird. I get a lot of people say, yeah, skip to 39 minutes in for the gameplay. It's like, but this is the gameplay. This is a very important part of the game, especially in like free-to-play games and anything that's always on. You will generally find that there's a lot of stuff like this that is integral to the experience. In this case, though, it's a little bit weird because it's a single-player title. All right, so let's go to the collection. So this is my card collection. It is ordered by rareness, and these are the towers that I am able to place. I also have magic, and I have artifacts, or at least I would if I had any. So in this case, you can see I've got 3 magic cards, and I have... there we go. These towers. Different kinds of towers. So there's a fairly large amount of towers available. Now, what you can then do is you can fuse cards together using the Forge. It's either Fusion or Evolution. Evolution, you pick 2 of the same card. So if I take Wooden Tower and, yeah, put that in there, and then this Wooden Tower, okay? So this will allow me to evolve, and it looks like I should be able to evolve to 3, except I don't have the cash to do it. Now, if I was able to evolve to level 3, that's one of 5 levels that are available on these towers, and usually that allows you to not only upgrade them in the game, but also gain additional basic power, which is pretty cool. Now, Fuse is something else entirely. This is a way to get new cards, and you can fuse cards together using fusing agents. I don't have any of those right now, so I don't think I can show it to you. I think you can also just, like, kind of dump everything in there and then fuse them together and see what happens. I could try that, but I don't actually have any money to do it. Maybe I'll do it a little bit later on. These seem to be permanent, by the way, so... yeah, you might want to be a little bit careful. I would imagine it's possible just to Alt F4 and then go back in. I think maybe I'm just misunderstanding the system, but the whole fusion system seems a little bit risky because I don't think it necessarily tells you what it does. It may just be the idea that you can fuse a bunch of random cards together to... yeah, that must be it. You can fuse a bunch of random cards together to upgrade a specific card. So I could take this to level 1.5 by getting rid of my Ice Storm. It's a way to take cards you already have and turn them into something else, but the efficiency isn't very good. There are things which can increase the efficiency, and those are items which you can generally find in the game, just kind of fusing agents. Alright, so you get the idea there, I guess. Alright, cool. Excellent. Good to know. So, my collection. So this is your loadout down the bottom here. You can only take a certain amount of towers into every mission, and generally speaking, you will end up in a situation where your towers will not necessarily be what you need. So you might end up having to just throw yourself out of that level, try it again, and come up with a better selection. It's a pretty decent selection, but it doesn't do a particularly good job of taking down air-based targets. There is... yeah, this one only attacks land, and this one only attacks land as well, so... these are okay, but the slingshot towers are much, much better at taking down air towers, and maybe there's invisible enemies. Now you need to use my detector. The weird thing about that is, of course, that what happens if I run into a level whereby there are invisible enemies? That's a difficult one, because unless the game actually gives you that, it claims that the cards you get are randomly generated. Yeah, so you're pulling cards, and even the rewards that you get from certain missions outside of the tutorial missions where you're given your basic set of cards seem to be somewhat randomized. So that confuses me a little bit, because what happens if there are invisible enemies and I somehow did not have the detector card? That's a it's a little bit strange. Maybe there are certain missions within the game that give you those basic cards, and everything else is kind of a variation. You know, if I don't have the Flame Tower card, I can probably still win the levels, right? But if I don't have a detector card when everything's invisible, maybe not so much. So I'm a little bit concerned about that. Again, it's kind of hard to know what the case is on that, because until... I mean, even if you play the game through, even then, because I happen to have gotten a detector card now, do I have to play yet another session, start from scratch, to see whether or not I pulled different cards this time? It's hard to know. And that makes this game very, very hard to judge. Alright, anyway. So I've got a selection of cards. I'm pretty much about ready to get started. Before I do that, there is a talent tree. This is, as you might expect, you spend money and you get levels. The levels allow you to unlock different stuff. Like here, I could add another slot for the tower. I think I actually already have that. Accelerated output of Prime from the Prime Reactor, so that's the money that you spend within the tower defense levels itself. Maximum limit of cards in the collection, and so on and so forth. So there's a bunch of stuff. There's a lot of different things that you can get there, and you can customize to your liking. Alright, now, let's go into a mission. This is a boss encounter, apparently. I don't really want to go in there yet, because I don't think maybe I've leveled my towers up enough, so maybe I try something a little bit different. That one's That's a hard difficulty artifact search. Prime Zone Raid. Alright. So apparently there was a treasure chest for the reward there. I might go for that one. There's this. Prime Mining. So these are a little different. There are some variations in each level. So we'll go into one of them and we'll see where that goes. Let's take this medium difficulty one. Now, what I'm noticing here, thankfully it does tell you before you start, there will be harpies in this mission, as you can see. These are the 3 enemies going to throw at you: satyrs, trolls, satyrs. I think they're actually satyrs. I think that's how you pronounce it. And harpies. Okay, so I might want to take the slingshot tower then. So let's customize this. I think maybe I get rid of the flame tower. I can do without it. Or maybe I just get rid of the barrier, actually. Barriers are useful because they allow you to maze, but only certain levels support the idea of mazing, and only to a certain degree. And we're not talking about the idea of playing a game like, say, Wintermore Wars, where you can create this gigantic, complex maze. It's more of a case of just blocking certain paths. So it's a little bit of a hybrid between the notion of build towers on the side of a maze that already exists and create your own maze. That's a bit of a compromise. Don't know whether or not it's a good one. And some would argue that that really dumbs it down, but I guess it turns it more into a puzzle game than anything else, of trying to place the right towers in the right areas. Alright, we're going to take the slingshot, because I say I don't really want to die to harpies, who are flying creatures. Mine traps might be an idea. I assume these only hit the ground. I'll probably take my Ice Storm. Ice Storm is good to slow down enemies. So, let's go into that. Now, I can actually already tell before going into this, because I believe a lot of these maps are reused. I think this one was actually the same as maybe one of these. Was it this one? Yeah, you see? So, Temple of the Old Gods right there, which was level 3. Same map. So, there's quite a lot of reuse here. Now, I definitely don't need the barrier here, because this has no way to maze. They just go up to the top of the tower, and then they go through the gate, and that's it. So, let's go into it. There are other variants of it, which is interesting. Like, there's the one that's kind of nicked from Defense Grid, which is the idea that they will steal your prime, and then they'll run off with it, and they will then go in reverse and try to get out of the level. In this case, it's just a gateway. So if they hit the gateway, you lose a life point. 20 life, very, very standard tower defense formula. However, there are some variations here and there. One you can see, it's actually quite a nice-looking game. I wouldn't call it amazing, but I like this overall style of it. Lots of glow, lots of crystals, lots of old-school stuff. They have made an effort to make it not look terrible. Admittedly, their interfaces are still not the best looking ever, but at least this one is less impenetrable than Heroes of Might and Magic 5. Okay, so these things you're seeing around here, these allow you to buff various towers. So I know the first wave is going to be a bunch of fast-moving creatures. Oh, I didn't take my poison tower. Yeah, I did. That's right there. So, I'm going to put Flame Tower down first. So that's going to do a lot of damage at the start. And then I'm going to follow that one up after it with a Poison Tower. The idea being that I'm going to use this, hopefully, to kill off anyone that manages to make their way past. Now, I've got 51 Prime left. I know there's going to be flying enemies. It looks like that's actually going to be quite soon in the wave. So, let us set ourselves down one of these at the back. There you go. Alright, this might be enough. Let's give this a try and see how it goes. Yeah. Now, you might wonder, well, what the hell is he doing? Why is he attacking that? So, there are buildings around levels which your towers will attack if they have nothing better to do. They'll automatically target priority enemies like that, as you can see. They actually started out with trolls. I thought they were going to start off with the satyrs. Apparently not. These guys regenerate, so this is actually going to suck. I have no means to kill them. Great! That's a nice start. There we go. At least we can kill the harpies, I suppose. That was the wrong decision. Evidently. I assumed they would be small enemies, but I guess not. These are all trolls. Wonderful. Well, I've already screwed this up hard. Anyway, they'll attack these buildings, and if they have the time to destroy them, usually you get resources from that. So that's always nice to see. Alright, we're gonna plonk down one of these. These guys have regen auras. What the hell's going on with this? This is nasty. I wonder if it's these buildings that are doing it. Now, on some levels, there are enemy buildings that actually buff the monsters. And if you don't blow them up, then you're... Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is, because these guys aren't regenerating anymore. So... Alright, well, we set that up completely wrong. So, let's restart the level. Oh, there you go. There is annoyingly enough no undo button, and even at the start when you have it paused, if you put down the wrong tower and then realize, oh, it's the wrong tower, you can only sell it for half the price, which is kind of terrible. It would be nice to get a couple of seconds where you could sell it just in case you made a mistake, because making a mistake on this, especially bearing in mind that it's the non-maze style of tower defense, which generally means there is a specific set of towers that will work really, really well in this scenario, and if you don't use it, then you are in serious trouble. That's the real problem. If you don't do that, then you start to run into some pretty serious issues. I'm going to plonk him down there. It would be nice if we could blow that. So that must be an enemy building that's helping them out there. What I can do immediately is when I start this, I can use an ice storm. But yeah, I definitely appreciate a proper undo button. There you go. You can see the green going around there, so that is actually regeneration. As soon as they get up here, I'm going to plonk that down, so I'm going to slow them down, and then we'll knock them out. Nice. Okay. Right, as you can see, the engagement, well, worlds of difference. Worlds of difference this time around. That was clearly the right way to do things. Now my slingshot tower is going to start to try and pick off the harpies. I think I'm going to let a few of them through, so I will need another tower later down the line. I'll grab one of those. These little sigils right here do give you an increase in power in various different ways. So you get your own kind of friendly stuff on the map here as well. What you can also do, which is I mean, I suppose it's a fairly recent addition to a lot of commercial tower defense games that realized, oh, you know what would be good if you didn't just have to wait around? Well, what they do is they allow you to send the next wave in, and the earlier you send the next wave in, which obviously makes things significantly more difficult, the better it is for you because it will give you a bunch of more money. Now, he, sadly enough, did not die there. That's actually really going to suck because I think he's going to hit that regen tower. You could also go double speed if things are a little bit too easy for you. Ah, there's an enemy regen tower down there as well. Now, what I've noticed, actually, certainly from the start of this game is actually not easy to get 3 stars on at all. It is a fairly difficult tower defense, and that's good, because, let's be honest, there are a lot of very, very easy TDs. I think those are the kind of things that have very much been popularized by iOS devices, and we're clearly going to have to restart this, because it was terrible. But this is difficult. I found myself, as someone that's played a lot of Wintermall, a lot of Defense Grid, which I still consider to be the gold standard of commercial tower defense games on PC, I found this difficult. That's good. It's very challenging. However, I think some of the difficulty might end up being artificial, and the reason is these mechanics, these card collection mechanics. I'm not entirely convinced that... I wonder if I can actually get in range of that thing. Would that be in range? Might be. Maybe it will be. Let's see if it is. I'm not entirely convinced that the tower defense mechanics work well with the card collection idea. And the reason I say that is because if you're going to make what is basically a puzzle TD, which is the idea that you need very specific things at very specific times in order to make it work, and you've got to figure that out, and that in itself is a puzzle, then you can't necessarily have card collection and randomization in there, because you won't necessarily get what you need. Now, there are tower defense games that do have the element of randomization. Oh, you didn't kill the regen, really? Ugh. You are the worst tower. I didn't kill it quick enough. That's lousy. This may not work out well for me. At least that one will die. There are, as I said, there are TDs with some randomness in it. A good example, of course, be the very famous Element Tower Defense. That's something that I know a lot of people like, and rightfully so. It's actually one of my favorite TDs. There is a random mode in that I really, really like. The thing is, that usually gives you enough choice, like, because there's a huge amount of different towers, and the way that you level towers up and evolve them by combining elements does allow for situations where you will have less options, but you will have the right kind of options. You at least have enough options in order to actually make it. I don't necessarily know if Prime World Defenders really lets you do that, because I don't think it's got enough tower options. In comparison to something like Element TD, it's really not even close in the number of options that it's got. So I'm not entirely convinced, but on the flip side of it, I like the idea. I think it's an interesting twist on the method of which you acquire towers. That's a pretty cool thing. It also means that for once, which is not that common, the tower defense game has some kind of progression outside of each map, which I do like. And of course, you don't have to actually grind or anything. It's very much a case of just trying to play well. I'm going to leak again here. Makes me very, very sad. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist when it comes to these kind of games, so I don't really want to let these guys through. I really want to restart, but I'd also like to show you different levels, so that's probably not a good idea. I have a feeling, though, if I had different kinds of towers available to me here than the ones that I have, then I'd probably be doing significantly better. And I suppose that's the thing. I have a feeling some people are going to have a very hard time with this game because they end up with the wrong stuff, and then a lot of other people are going to have a really easy time with it. This regen thing is screwing me over really hard. At least this should do something. I need more prime. Come on, kill some more stuff so I can have more prime. I could send another wave through. Maybe that would give me enough for an extra tower, but I don't know. I also want to destroy these because they give me prime, but I don't have the time to do that. Ain't nobody in this case got time for that, unfortunately. Put the slow tower there. That'll actually eventually attack the regen thing, but I don't even know if I'm going to succeed in this level. It's not an easy one. This is medium difficulty. So it's tricky, very much so. As you can see, I'm leaking really hard. I don't think I'm actually going to beat this. Maybe I need to use more flame towers. I'm going to restart it one more time. This is kind of embarrassing for me, actually, because usually I'm alright at tower defense games, but in this case, nope. Not at all. Not at all. Which is paused and which isn't. Hard to say. Starting with flame doesn't make any sense because they're going to open up with trolls. Flame is an area of effect tower, which is nice, but it's not too good at killing off heavy enemies. Maybe I use a flame tower later down the line. Could put it there, but flame towers also have a limited range. Yup. Maybe I put it here. That gets the extra attack speed. That would be pretty good. Alright. And then I put that one there. And maybe I put the poison one. I need to put these in a position where I can actually kill the regenerators. Maybe I put the poison one here to do just that. There we go. I mean, it would kind of make sense for me to make use of these upgrade points here, but I think it's more important to kill these before I do anything. Alright. Cool. The flame tower is also going to kill this little totem here, which is also going to give me a bunch of extra stuff. So that's always nice to see. Alright, cool. So at least that got rid of that. That'll give me another tower option. Don't really have too much to kill the harpies with yet. I'm thinking putting this here would be quite nice. That's good range. That'll hit the top as well, so this should hopefully just deal with the harpies pretty well. Still need to take down these regenerators. Let's slow them down around here. Now, the magic system's fairly simple. Mana for magic just... I think it's not even mana. I think it's just cooldown based, from what I can tell. So you can use it every X number of seconds, depending on what magic you've got. Annoyingly enough, every time you've almost got magic, it makes this incredibly annoying bark saying, hey, you can do this. I've just let all these guys through. This is completely the wrong setup. How do I beat this bloody level? God. This is, as I said, kind of embarrassing. For some reason, I'm just not getting the results that I need. It's a case of trying to kill these things off. It's almost like I'm misunderstanding how they work. Maybe I just need to put arrow towers next to all of them and try and rapidly kill them as fast as possible. Maybe that'll work. Alright, one more restart. One more. This is humiliatingly bad. Good lord. Alright. So, arrow tower there. Arrow tower there. Let's pause the game before it goes any further than that. So that's 1 regenerator, 2 regenerators, and 3 regenerators. This is also in range of that, I think. So, there we go. And then maybe we upgrade the one at the front. So that should hopefully make that strong enough to kill that before the trolls come through. That's my hope, especially if I were to slow them down so they don't get in regeneration range. There we go. Slow them down. Ah, too late. Well, they're going to regenerate quite a lot of that health, which is a big problem. And then the second one's going to go through. God, how do you kill these things before the trolls get there? How do you do that? Is that even possible? It's ridiculous. What the hell? Do I need more heavily upgraded towers? And I think there maybe is the big thing, isn't it? Because of this meta upgrade idea, I have a feeling that you're going to run into these levels which just aren't possible to do properly until your towers are more upgraded, until you have more powerful towers. It may just be that this mission is something I cannot do yet. Now, that's both good and bad, in my opinion. It's good. I think these are a trick, actually. I think you need to put it maybe there so that it gets a couple more shots off on that. Would this be in range? This is the annoying thing. I can't tell if that's in range or not. It looks like it might be. No, it's not. It's going to end up attacking that instead. Annoying. As I said, it's interesting and it's arguably good, but also arguably not. It's arguably good because it adds a really intriguing element to the title. Something very interesting. The idea that, oh, unlike other TDs, you can't actually just beat everything just by pure strategy alone. You have to, in fact, go through some kind of progression curve to get there. The flip side of that is that, one, a lot of people like these games for the strategy aspect, and two, I'm trying to think of what two is. It could be perceived as a little bit grindy, maybe, by some people. Alright, is this going to actually kill it before then? Ah, oh, you see what I mean? Like, nowhere I put this is this going to kill it first. And then what will end up happening is this will leak here. Then that will go through here. Maybe I just have to put a second tower down there. God. I'm on a determinator spree now, folks. I'm sorry. This is how I sometimes get. There are times... Ladies and gentlemen, no, I shouldn't put that there. That's a waste. I'm being a perfectionist again. There are times when I just want to get something absolutely right. This is one of those times. So if I put that there, if I put the slowing tower here, this will actually attack as well. I don't want to use this damage increase tower for a slowing tower because they don't really do much. So my hope is that I can kill this first, then kill the trolls before they get there, which will give this enough firepower time to kill that, which will then give this enough time to kill that. Let's try it. Here's hoping I did the right thing. And then I can use my slowing magic, which, by the way, maybe I wouldn't have gotten. I mean, there's another aspect. It's like I'm using the slowing tower. It's doing it again. I can't do it. This is actually impossible. Not with the level of towers I've got, there is no way for me to actually stop this initial leak. And the main problem is after that, stuff comes at you so fast, you can't destroy the towers. It almost makes me think... Oh, let's grab one more now. Maybe I can hold this, but it seems unlikely. I don't know. Maybe I get it. Maybe I get it. I need time to shoot at that tower to get rid of it. I'm gonna leak this one, I think. Maybe I can get one more arrow tower in there. And maybe that'll do the job. Huh. Nope. I'm gonna leak. Damn it! This is just silly. So I guess maybe I just have to come back to that later. Maybe that's just the way of it. Perhaps I can... There you go, yeah. Do some easier missions, gather some resources. That's the key difference. If you want me to differentiate between this tower defense game and most other ones, it's... Other tower defense games give you a linear set of missions in a particular order. Some of them have progression, some stuff like Kingdom Rush, but most of them don't. But most of them are just like, here's a set of levels. Here's how it's going to be. Or, there's just one level and you build it using mazes. In this case, it's a set of puzzle challenges, which are also accentuated by the idea that you are given access to missions that you might not necessarily be able to beat. Whether it just be because you haven't collected the right cards yet, you haven't upgraded your cards enough yet. All of those things are possibilities. So, some people are going to absolutely hate that idea, and I think that's going to be absolutely off-putting to some people. I don't think there's any real doubt about that. I'll go and hit one that I did earlier here. This is actually one of the tutorial levels. I only got 1 star in it because I was just kind of rushing through it. There we go. This actually demonstrates a slightly different mechanic. This is a mechanic that was used in Defense Grid, the idea being that they will take containers of Prime and then they will go back, and that's the way the arrows are pointing there. Now, on some missions, it will also allow you to place barriers or towers in such a way that you affect the path. I don't know if they have full-on mazing. Looking at it, it seems unlikely, because the cost of the barriers versus the cost of the towers, I don't see how you could possibly do hardcore mazing in this game, simply because it's not balanced that way. If you talk about other tower defense games, when you maze in those tower defense, which for those of you who don't know, mazing is creating a maze which extends the length of time that monsters will stay in the range of your tower. Yeah, so you don't want them to reach the objective, so you slow them down by any means necessary. The way you can do that is by, of course, creating a maze and forcing them down the longest path possible. In those games, the stuff that you use to maze, which is either maze blocks or very, very cheap towers, you can build a lot of. In this game, you can't do that. The price of every tower, even the price of barriers, is relatively high relative to what you are actually earning in terms of prime on the level. So I don't think there's going to be that many levels that really let you do that to a huge degree. Alright, so they're going to come in from there. At least I think so. It would be nice if these arrows actually move faster, because when you are on levels where you can change the direction, it takes ages for it to indicate what you've actually done there. So it's like, oh yeah, let's wait about 20 seconds for the arrows to come around again to see whether or not it's going the path that I want to. Irritating. Irritating. Alright. Place a tower there, place it there, and upgrade there. And there's no flying enemies on this level, so I think we can just roll with that. There we go. That may very well be enough. I should probably get a flame tower, because I think there's going to be a bunch of little small bastards. There we go. Nice and easily taken down. So this is a little bit more manageable from the start. And this will also actually allow me to spawn the second wave and gain some additional points. I want to try and get the flame tower out. There are actually flying enemies on this mission, so I'm going to place a slingshot. There we go. Let's send another wave. Actually, I can handle these fairly quickly. There we go. Let's send the harpies out just a little bit earlier. Shouldn't be too much of a problem. That's pretty well upgraded. And get a slowing tower down as well. So I've spent a lot of time explaining, I suppose, the differences between this and a regular TD, but of course there are plenty of similarities. The way that towers work is very, very similar to other towers. I guess there's only so far you can really go with tower design and tower defense games. Almost everything is going to have been done before to some degree. Yeah, I think that's something that everyone just has to kind of accept and move on with. There's only so much innovation you can really put into a genre like this that just flat out doesn't let you do that, right? It's a limited idea. It's like saying how much can you innovate with Tetris, right? There we go. Things are going fairly well. I'm gonna put the flame tower at the back there. Let's see how this goes. What is rather annoying is the actual storyline of this game. A lot of TDs have attempted in recent years to integrate a story into the single-player campaign, and most of them fail miserably. The only game that's really managed to make something compelling is probably Defense Grid, and that is solely down to how cool the computer narration is in that game. It is so awesome. Big fan of Defense Grid's narration in that respect. However, not every game manages to do that, and Prime World is a prime example of that. It has very poor voice acting, and its scripting is not very good either. And I don't mean scripted events, I'm talking about the idea of just a badly written script for the voice actors. It's a little bit derpy. It doesn't sound that great. It would be, I guess, well, I thought it was supposed to be harpies on this mission, apparently not. That is a little unfortunate, I've got to say. I just realized I built the wrong tower. That was supposed to be a slowing tower. There we go. Should be able to handle these guys, I think. Let's slow them down just a little bit more. Thank you very much. Sweet. Oh, I've got to kill them off. I'm not letting them get away. There we go. That should finish them off. Nice. Sweet. Not going to leak anything today. Yeah, as I said, though, the story is pretty bad. The voice acting is pretty bad as well. And what also annoys me in games like this is when they try and have just little incidental barks. And what I mean there is the idea of them saying stuff like, just a couple of degrees lower, or laughing and saying, haha, we're doing really well, or I wish they'd get me a better tower. It's like, this is not useful information. None of that is useful information. It's just annoying, and it's very, very repetitive. Please don't do that in your game. Please, just stop. Stop. Enough. Enough of that. No more barking. Please. I don't know who let the dogs out, but I'd wish they would stop. I really do. If you're gonna put that kind of voice acting in your game, you damn well better make sure that you have a lot of it. Which in this case they definitely don't have, or it's highly entertaining. Or that it's useful, you know? Let me know that they're breaking through. Let me know that there is a specific problem. Like say, oh, you know, there's too many of them or anything like that, which might indicate perhaps there's a lot of horde enemies and that maybe I have to create something, create a tower that is better against large numbers of smaller, fast-moving enemies. They're too fast, they're too tough, that kind of thing. But there is none of that. They don't alert you of any of that, which means that all of the voice acting in the game is basically frivolous and is actually irritating, which is not what you want. You know, you don't want your voice acting to annoy people. That's not the point of video games. Quit it. I don't know what's going on with that. So, conclusion. Well, as I say, I think that the overall card collection aspect of the game is very interesting, but I'm not entirely convinced that it actually works 100% of the time. I think that there will be situations where people just get a bad selection of cards and end up in a horrible spot where they cannot do anything. Ah, let one through! It's like, better restart the level now. That's annoying. 2 stars. I let 1 through. 1. The last enemy. I hate everything. Oh, man. That sucks. I got some extra stars and resources, though, I guess. So, again, I'm replaying levels to get resources and level up and so on and so forth. Again, it wouldn't surprise me if that random card generation system, even with the ability to fuse stuff, and the thing is, you buy booster packs in the store, right? So you can't even guarantee. There's the starter card set, which includes these starter towers, so you can boost up your existing towers with that. In this case, there's even a special offer, so it's randomly generated something that's 1,000 silver, and I assume this is probably cheaper than usual. And I like all this stuff. This is really cool. This is the kind of thing that's usually put into multiplayer games, and yet this time they've implemented it into single player with virtual currency. Really cool little piece of innovation there that gives this nice sense of progression. But I have a feeling it could backfire. I really do. And if you don't like collectible card mechanics, then you're definitely not going to like this. So there you go, folks. Prime World Defenders, some interesting spins on the overall metagame of the tower defense, although the actual gameplay itself is very similar to stuff that currently exists. This is currently available on Steam during its closed beta. You can buy in for 20% off prior to that, or you can wait for its release date on May the 21st. It will, at the time of recording, cost you $12. €11.19 in Tier 1, or €8.79 in Tier 2, and £9.59. It's called Prime World Defenders. Ladies and gentlemen, my name has been Total Biscuit. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.